Welcome to Book 2 in the Horrors and Hoagies series, Tortured Souls. In this, we will cover chapters 9 through chapter 10. We encourage you to immerse yourself in the exciting events that unfold. From thrilling action scenes to heart-pumping moments of suspense, Tortured Souls is sure to keep you on the edge of your seat. We appreciate your support and hope that you continue to enjoy the journey we have in store for you. Chapter 10, Visit from Ashfield.
I say, lad, you'd think you've spotted a ghost.
Dom groaned inwardly at the terrible joke as he noticed the unwelcome presence of Major Richard Ashfield from British intelligence. It had only been 10 minutes since Dom woke up, but his usual grumpy morning mood had somehow sunk lower into a foul mood. The only thing preventing him from snapping at Ashfield was the absence of a pounding headache or any lingering signs of a hangover. Before the Major could delve too deep into his self-analysis, he gave a polite cough to get the attention of the distracted detective. Dom's mood nosedived as he remembered the Major's presence. Memories of Germany came rushing back to Dom. Specifically, the last time he had laid eyes on the Major when he handed Dom's fire team a mission folio. The document ultimately sealed the fate of 10 of the bravest men Dom had ever known. Dom couldn't help but think that Ashfield wished he had been one of the fallen squadmates, but fate had dealt him a different hand. Even years after leaving the war behind, Dom still woke up in a cold sweat from nightmares. In those nightmares, Ashfield always played the role of the main villain. Major Ashfield's attire seemed out of place now that the war was over. His loose-fitting olive-drab uniform, comically green socks, impeccably polished shoes, and neatly trimmed cap remained as pristine as ever. He held another mission briefing, proudly displaying the 7-pointed star of his division within British intelligence. Dom reluctantly put on a fake smile as he addressed the Englishman.
"Hey, Major, what brings you to my office this time? Another one of your suicide missions, I assume. It's like you have a knack for them."
The detective grabbed 2 cleanish cups and poured a double shot into each, giving the Major a suspicious look. Although he wanted to tear the limey wretch's head off his perfectly ironed shoulders, he knew politeness was the best way to get through to him. The Major stood at parade rest, always the epitome of military etiquette. Dom remembered how the man had stuck to decorum during the grueling 3-day debriefing before officially relieving Dom of his military duty. It should have been an act, but after serving with him for almost a year in the war, Dom knew that Ashfield's manners were as much a part of him as breathing. Ashfield placed the file on Dom's desk and continued.
Corporal, as much as it pains me to recall what happened to those brave soldiers, I have a mission for you. It has come to my attention that a global threat has descended upon our little town. If we ignore it, it could bring disaster to many innocent people. I expect you to eliminate this threat as quickly as possible and to the best of your abilities.
Dom rolled his eyes and casually slid the bulky file back to the person who handed it to him.
"Nah, I'm not a corporal anymore. I left that place a long time ago. And guess what? I survived that hellhole, so you can't boss me around anymore."
Ashfield glared at Dom, his gaze piercing.
I understand. You have your freedom, but remember, once a soldier, always a soldier.
Dom shot the Major a frigid look.
"I have no interest in being associated with any military organization you're a part of, sir."
The words held more weight than they appeared. Dom had heard them before during a brutal interrogation led by Ashfield. They were used to humiliate a deserter who held valuable information that Ashfield wanted. Unfortunately, the poor soul didn't survive the Major's ruthless tactics. Without giving Ashfield a chance to respond, Dom continued.
"Threatening a civilian is not fitting for a Queen's officer, Major Ashfield. Furthermore, as far as I know, you have no authority to send civilians to their deaths in my country."
Dom hoped to use the conversation to his advantage. He finished his drink while maintaining eye contact. He was provoking one of the most dangerous people he had ever encountered. If things turned violent, he needed a fast way out. Unfortunately, the Major was blocking his path to the door. Since escape wasn't an option, he chose to be defiant. He snatched Ashfield's cup and downed its contents in one swift motion. It may have been a childish move, but any victory over a madman like Ashfield was worth remembering even if it was his last. The Major had a unique advantage in his line of work. He didn't need doors and conventional weapons were useless against him. His abilities allowed him to pass through solid objects, shrug off attacks, and instantly travel incredible distances. According to rumors, Ashfield was once a mortal like the rest of us, but a secret government experiment transformed him to fight against the Germans. Such experiments were said to come with a heavy price, but if there was one, Ashfield handled it remarkably well. After giving his nose a quick rub, Ashfield responded,
"You know, the war didn't end with the fall of the Third Reich. We've been relentlessly pushing the enemy back, even though the rest of the world has tried to move on. The saying still holds, you know, vigilance is the price of liberty."
Dom scoffed.
If people are willing to sacrifice their freedom for security, they'll end up with neither. Save your flowery language, Major. I managed to escape, I was the only one with the guts.
Dom's words dripped with venom as he added,
So, respectfully, sir, I'm done with your ridiculous Thulian hunting games.
The intensity of Dom's anger was palpable as he adamantly rejected the English lunatic. Ashfield nodded in understanding. He paused before speaking again, this time with a tone filled with a hint of danger.
Interesting choice of words for someone who associates with potential enemies of the Crown. Our informant has notified me that you have been intensifying your efforts to identify and categorize local threats, even going as far as apprehending one.
He locked eyes with Dom for a moment, a glimmer of suspicion in his gaze.
You may be merely another threat that needs investigating?
Dom fought against his natural urge to yank his sidearm from its holster. Ashfield had the power to end his life whenever he pleased, and he had the determination to follow through. Dom had no other option but to accept the implicit threat, but that didn't mean he had to surrender without a fight. With a swift motion, Dom grabbed the folder. He sank into his seat, tearing off the annoying string that held the package together. As soon as it was open, he scattered the papers across his desk and examined them closely.
What the hell is this, Dick?
Savoring his victory, Ashfield pulled a chair over to the desk and sat down. He poured himself another drink and sipped it in a way that only the British aristocracy could.
We were tracking a German U-boat making trips to some holdout bases along the Aleutian Islands. We lost it around the Cape of Good Hope and didn't pick it up again until it tripped a Canadian coast buoy.
He explained. Ashfield then rearranged the papers to show nautical maps and pictures of exchanges at a border checkpoint.
Canadian border agents found two middle-ranking agents of Thule in a covered truck headed to the New York Museum of History, a place that happens to be in your backyard.
He said, noting Dom's attention.
We need them eliminated.
He stated firmly. Dom wasn't a fan of killing, having experienced night terrors from all the killing at his hands in the war, but he knew they had to act fast.
I'm no assassin, Major.
Dom pointed at the gold and black lettering on the frosted window of his office door.
In case you missed it, I do detective work these days.
Nonplussed, the Major offered a solution.
Then have the pumpkin-headed monstrosity you keep as a pet kill them. After all, we were kind enough to aid your smuggling of the beast to the States.
Dom's fist reacted instinctively, lashing out towards Ashfield's face. However, it found only space as the Major phased out of reality, leaving Dom embarrassed by his impulsive action. The arrogant officer didn't feel the need for self-defense or counterattack. Both understood such theatrics were unnecessary.
TSK, Corporal. Let us stay cool and collected while we figure out a peaceful solution, huh?
Ashfield raised an eyebrow as he calmly scolded the enthusiastic detective. He let Dom sit down before he continued.
Since you're so determined to keep your wild creature away from this job, I'll hire a nearby hitman to handle it. You'll uncover these bad guys, and we'll tidy things up, or clean house, as you Americans say.
Dom grumbled out a furious.
Fine, I wish you luck getting the local council to agree to your request. The Baron tends to look poorly on murder in his beloved city.
Ashfield smiled like a cat chewing on a canary.
It would appear such worry is unfounded. With Adam Stein preoccupied beyond the city limits, thanks to yours truly, an opportunity has arisen for such an endeavor.
Dom was shocked at the brazen way Ashfield casually messed with his town. What the hell did you do?
Nothing insurmountable, I assure you. His lady friend has rather inexplicably fallen on sudden hard times after running up quite the tab with people that take a dim view on being owed.
Ashfield examined his nails for imaginary dirt that would have never been there. Dom held his fist against his desk and shook his head.
Ain't you a piece of work? God help you if he ever finds out you messed with his bride.
Major Richard Ashfield stood and gave a habitual salute with a smirk before he donned his pristine cap.
It was in our best interest to have him occupied elsewhere while we dealt with the matter. Find these men, drive them into the open, and my asset will deal with them for you.
Ashfield straightened his perfect uniform before turning and marching through the nearest wall and out of the office.